Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to night number 3 of 4 Days with Shais, doing our annual fundraiser campaign. Today was a great day. Today was a very, very exciting day. Some really beautiful and significant donations that came in, and also the sheer number. I think the number was like over 100 donations that have come in today. And with the donations, it's both the significant of the size of some of the donations as well as the sheer number of them. And I want to start tonight by reading out some of the ones that came in today and share our gratitude with these individuals. Some really heavy hitters, and I'll start with Joseph and Rosie Kahan, donated 24. Yossi and Razy.
Hamish,
I'm reading it the way it was.
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy here. You gotta watch out. In case, whether the last few nights or if I do mispronounce the name, I apologize in advance.
By the way, I'll tell you about Yossi and Razy Kahan, who they are parenting course alumni, and I think I can share this. Okay, so their 14-year-old daughter was commenting about different rabbis and different people who give guidance and whatever. And she told her mother, she says, the only one I hold of is Shais Taub. She says with the Hungarian Havura, Shais Taub, which has a good sound to it. She says to her, why is that? So she says, he has a good parenting course. She says, well, what do you like about his parenting course? And she says, I like how my parents act when they take his parenting course. So just so you know, for me, the best endorsement for a parenting course is not what the parents say about it. It's what the kids say about it. The kids are the ones to ask. Don't ask the parents, ask the kids. Yeah,
I would venture to guess that that's not the first time a kid was lobbying their parents to take your course. Have you ever come across that before?
I don't know if I ever heard of a kid asking their parents to take my parenting course, but after the fact, I have gotten that feedback a few times and this is like extremely touching to me. Parents have told me their children thanked them for taking it.
Wow.
Which is, you don't get better than that. Anyways, I think they did an effective donation of $24,000, which is huge. It was a huge boost. And by the way, that's a recurring $1,000 monthly donation, which I don't think a lot of people realize you can do monthly.
Yeah, I did that 3 years ago.
You did a monthly donation?
Yeah, and it's a way to.
And then you change your credit card number after a couple months?
I did not, and you know that.
No, I don't know that. I didn't follow up.
And you get points.
Yeah. Dan's Deals shout out.
Yeah, and if you give enough, the points pay for themselves, I think. But then again, if you look at my statements, sometimes it doesn't work. But
okay, some other heavy hitters.
Avi Fishoff, $2,000.
Avi Fishoff is from Twisted
I
Parenting.
recognize that name for a few reasons, but I've seen his name on every campaign so far.
Yeah, he has come through for me in previous campaigns as well, and that is very meaningful because he's a known guy. Yeah. Okay.
And 2 years ago, we had him on as a guest.
Did we?
Yeah, I'm quite sure. It was after, I think his father passed away shortly before that. Yeah, Avi Fishoff, thank you. That's Avi Fishoff of Twisted Parenting.
That's right.
Russell Herman, $10,800.
That's big.
It is beautiful.
Can I tell you something?
You, Russell. Yep.
I don't know if this is morbid, but that's your kind of humor, Chaim.
I've been trying to play it down today.
Okay.
And
so to be Yates of the morbid humor for today, this is a true story. Russell gave last year to the campaign, so I couldn't find his number, and I Googled his name, and I found an obituary, and I was horrified.
How did he die?
No, thank God he didn't die. Someone else with the same name.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So I emailed him, I'm so glad you're alive.
Yeah, and so just...
He's alive.
What are the chances? All right, thankfully.
Yes,
that would be awkward if someone stole his card just to give... By the way, what are some of your favorite celebrity there's some famous celebrities who are famous for having died before dying, meaning some of them more than once where their death was announced before.
I think you're referring to the famous quote of reports, or maybe it's rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated, which is varyingly attributed to either Mark Twain or George Bernard Shaw. And you could pretty much
Very self-consumed comment to make.
Yeah. Could we let's talk about the heavy hitters. Speaking of self-consumed, let's talk about
Heavy
the
hitters
heavy
of people
hitters who are selfless. Let's not be self-consumed. Let's talk about the heavy hitters.
The guy in Godfather 1 who pleaded at the end, just for all time's sake. Now his name is really tall guy. It was like twice he was pronounced dead. Became a oh, come on, if you give in a donation with his name,
and we'll read it out.
Not like Victor Borg, but it's got a Borg type name,
Right, Abe Vigoda.
Abe Vigoda.
Go ahead, come on.
Okay, Mitch and Karen Kuflick, $10,000.
Very good friends of ours, personal friends of ours, and one of our early, perhaps even earliest supporters of SoulWords. Yeah.
Maishi and Chaya Suri Tabak, $10,000.
Yeah,
I recognize that name.
Yeah.
I think they were a matcher in the past.
He did, I think, matching for the bonus round last year. Yeah.
It's right in a crunch. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kalman Walchuk, $7,200.
Good friend of mine.
Tamar and Fivish Pevsner, $2,000.
My neighbors. The Pevsners are my neighbors in Five Towns.
Yeah, and you've done some work with her in the past. I know
Mrs. Pevsner is a busy community service type person. She's always up to something, and we've done multiple projects together, whether it's Beis Rivka. I think actually she got me doing another Beis Rivka thing coming up in like a week or two. I have to check my schedule. We've done stuff in the Catskills in the summer a bunch of times. We did Yadathon.
Yadathon.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And it was, but we're getting close to the 10 yard numbers.
Yeah.
What?
By the way,
Tenathon. Thank you. And David Weinbaum was the producer. Were you?
I was about to say that
producer of Tenathon, and we got the big guns. We got the producer of Tenathon to produce 4 Days with Shais.
He's probably not comfortable with this, but why not? No, you're behind the camera.
Behind the camera only?
You're better off. Take it.
Okay. By the way, remember the story I told you? Remember when you were reading some of the big donors the other night, and you read Richard Sutton, and I was like, oh yeah, he was walking out of Yisrael Gordon Shalom's house with me, and we saw some shlucha standing on the corner. It was not the corner, the middle of the street, standing in the middle of the street.
Crown and Schenectady.
No, not Crown. He lived on.
Oh, it's. Well, I'm saying if it was the Yisrael. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm all right.
Gordon's house is on Crown? Yeah, you're right. It's on Crown. You're right. Okay. So, and I said, oh, this shlucha was standing out front. And she's like, oh, I'm from Puerto Vallarta, and we took your parenting course, blah, blah, blah. You know who that shlucha was?
No.
She's a Weinbaum, originally. She's married to Hecht. She's David's sister.
David's sister.
Yeah. It's a small world when you're Jewish.
Okay. Well, we're going to get him on soon. He'll tell us, because I know there's a lot of Weinbaums, a lot of interesting stories.
What? If you do a Canadian donation, can you get a Canadian tax receipt? We have done this in the past. We have friends in Canada. And
Canadian Friends of SoulWords.
Canadian Friends of SoulWords. That's not a real thing, but you know what? You can email my daughter, Tybal,
Tybal David.
Tybal David, yeah. She used to be Tybal Taub. Now she's Tybal David. And Teibel, Tybal, Teibel, at soulwords.org. And say, Tybal, hook us up with a Canadian tax receipt. And we have a way of doing that.
Call the guy.
Yeah, call the guy. We got a guy. Heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters. As I think we may have mentioned this name yesterday, but it calls to shout out again. Yerachmiel and Rivka Leah Jacobson, $4,700.
Very good friends. Yes, Baruch Hashem, from here in Crown Heights, big pillar of the community.
And then, of course, there's all the other donors, and I hope we'll have some time at some point to read them and share them and encourage others throughout this evening, the campaign. I think we're well towards, we got it right, 181,000. Okay.
That's kind of like a Jewish number, 10 times high.
It's a beautiful number.
Yeah.
But we need to get to the next,
770.
The next 6-digit what? Okay. By the way, I have this piece today. So,
what is this?
The very professional sound piece. So
you did the earpiece?
So I will.
You're not putting it in your ear, but at least you're going to keep it on the desk in front of you. And then maybe by tomorrow night you'll put it in your ear.
I was ready to, but it's like sound resistant, so then it throws my equilibrium off.
You have like middle
We
ear
have a
balance
shared
issues.
issue with a hearing thing.
Yeah. No, thank God mine's not a hearing thing. It's actually much worse than a hearing thing. I hear a constant ringing in my ears, which is not even there. It's neurological. I actually went to an audiologist, and she said, you know how they've discovered that it's neurological? A guy had it, and he removed his entire ear, and they still had it.
Oh.
What are we talking about here, though?
We got a program, and I want to get to.
We do have a program, and we're here to raise money. Let's not be bashful, Chaim. We're trying to raise money. Im ein kamach ein Torah. We need the dough. You know, Chaim, times were hard, and I had to get a second job. I got a night job working at a bakery.
Is that right?
Yeah, I need the dough.
Oh, come on. I hope we have sound effects for that. Speaking of which, I came exactly 2 minutes ago because I thought, like, if I see myself that, like, I might be on time for something, somehow I have an emergency bathroom thing. And while I was there, my wife thinks I waste time watching TV, but I was very productive. I wrote down some ideas for tonight.
Okay.
I have a lightning round of questions for Shais, besides for the Q&A, the actual planned Q&A, which is going to be our first segment tonight coming up.
Yeah.
So intermittently, I'll just pull out. Now, it's called lightning round, but you could take as long as you need to answer them. Because that's not fair. Like,
I shouldn't feel pressured by the name lightning round.
And I'm not going to go in any particular order.
Okay.
But here, maybe we've answered the question. But blue-collar job you most envy?
Blue-collar job I most envy?
I think most people, for me, it's trucker. Because I could smoke.
A lighthouse operator. Is that blue-collar?
Probably not. You probably really need to like. I mean, that's not to say I shouldn't. Blue collar jobs, don't think that you can just step up and do it. It takes know-how. But why?
I've always been intrigued with the life of a lighthouse operator.
But you actually are. You're a lamtenner. Well, it's not technically. Yeah, that is a.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. You are a lamplighter.
Yeah. Chassid is a lamplighter. You know that song?
No.
To make the world brighter. Okay, go ahead. Lightning round.
Lightning round.
No pressure.
Okay. You are from Chicago.
Yeah.
But you lived in Crown Heights for a number of years.
Yes, I did.
As a bacher?
Yes.
And then also as a younger mom when you got married for a few?
481 Crown Street. That's where Tybal was born. I mean, she wasn't born in the apartment. We were not like that healthy, but I think she was born at Long Island University Hospital in downtown Brooklyn. But when we brought her home to 481 Crown Street. Go ahead. What's your Crown Heights question?
So 481, was that like off of Kingston Avenue?
It's right around the corner from Apple Drugs.
Apple Drugs.
Yeah.
What was that like living in Crown Heights, waiting online on Apple Drugs? I guess you were able to just wait at home, but that like little bench cubicle there, you can find out a lot about
people's medication.
Not just that, just it's a good insight into Crown Heights culture. But okay, I was about to say something. Okay, so give me one thing you miss about living in Crown Heights.
Can I say something? I think it's so perfect that I'm in Five Towns because whatever I need in Crown Heights is only a short drive away. But I'm not a New Yorker. So like Nassau County for me is like just about as New York as I can get. Hey, you came out to Nassau County. You're my
Right.
neighbor. You
Exactly
know about
3 years
you know
ago.
about right turn on red
My car, because I moved
and
right.
the sanitation who comes behind your house to get your garbage.
And you call them for special pickup if you want to throw out like your whole kitchen. You just tell them, come get it.
Yeah.
Um,
And nary a car alarm to be heard at 3 a.m.
just the planes.
The planes, yeah, I got used to the planes.
Yeah. Okay, what you didn't tell us, what's one thing in particular? It doesn't have to be like a practical thing. It could be anything. Something that you do miss. Okay, fine.
Yeah, being able to daven Ma'ariv at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but you do that anyway. You hang out in 7:70 till 2 a.m. I know.
I do that anyway. That's true.
One thing you don't miss about living in Crown Heights. Okay, we got hearing it through the.
David got nervous. He's like, next.
Okay, I have some letters that I want to read.
Yes.
And this is a letter that I was handed just a few minutes ago, and it goes like this. Dear Rabbi Taub, I'm in the middle of watching your video, The Simple Mindset Shift. This simple mindset shift will bring you peace. That's
the name of the video, by the way. This simple mindset shift will bring you peace.
Oh, I know it. You did a 3-part series on
Moon
anxiety.
and anxiety, and this was part 3. Yeah, this was part 3. YouTube is funny. The titles on YouTube, they can't be good titles because you have to tell the person actually what they will get from the video. So it's like a very clumsy title, but it actually tells you what you will get. But you can't tell them too much because you got to make it, intrigue so they click. Yeah. Anyways,
you could actually technically limit. I think it may do it for you. The next, like the giveaway word, so they have to click on it to see the full title.
You can purposely plan it like that. Yeah.
So your video, this simple mindset shift will bring you peace. I'm that woman who stopped you was very specific. And I know you told me that anything I'm reading, you have explicit permission from the person to read it. I'm that woman who stopped you on January 4th in front of the fish store in Crown Heights.
You know what fish store she's talking about? Raskin's.
I was going to say Shabbos fish because Raskin's would be the obvious choice. Usually,
it was because you know why? I parked. I think I parked in front of Sweet Expressions actually, and Yerachmiel Jacobson, one of our.
That's right.
Yeah, one of our donors. And then I was walking. Was I going to 770 or was I just remember being parked in front of Sweet Expressions. She said in front of the fish store. I think it was in front of Sweet Expressions. At any rate, yes, I do remember this. Go ahead. I don't remember that it was January 4th, but I don't remember my kids' English birthdays either. So,
what's January 4th? The famous day. Is that swearing in day?
Where were you on the day of January? No,
January 4th. I was in Costco. It was a Wednesday because it was the night before my wedding. No, it was the week before. And
the night before your wedding, you were in Costco.
It's exactly when the week started that I needed a shamer.
You had a shamer?
And he just come into town. So anyway, and I was buying stuff for my house January 4th at 2021, the big one. All right. Speaking of which,
are you in the middle of reading a letter?
Yeah, you keep distracting me.
Okay,
you
go ahead.
know my
Okay,
ADHD.
Go ahead. I saw you on January 4th. Yeah.
I asked you for 2-3 minutes of your time, and you gave me 15. Well, I'm glad that was the next because that can easily go the other way. And you gave me 15, or you couldn't stop me. Firstly, I want to say I've been thinking that may have been a bit audacious of me, and I apologize if it was. Secondly, I want to say that those 15 minutes have been so invaluable in more ways than I can describe. I've taken to the program like I have been needing it for so long, and hearing you speak.
She's talking about a program of recovery. I remember the question. There's no name on there, right? Please.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Ron Burgundy again. I will read it if it's I've taken to the program like I've been needing it for so long, and hearing you speak about being in the present moment For all, and hearing you speak about being in the present moment, for that is all that exists. I composed this email. The next day, I stopped at that very same place and said, Baruch she'asali nes b'makam hazeh. I was the one who said short videos count more. Seemingly,
Yeah, she gave me some feedback also. I remember she was asking me a question, and then she was like, by the way, you should do more short videos. Okay. I'm just filling in the
Right.
okay.
I was the one who said short videos count more. Seemingly, I turned to this long video because that's what I needed to hear.
Oh, that's
Right
right. Because
here,
you
right
started
now.
in the beginning about this simple mindset shift will bring you peace. That's a long. It's like an hour and a half video. Okay,
In gratitude,
with the name. Yeah.
P.S. If there's anything I can do to repay you for those precious moments, please let me know.
And I did. I said, could we read this on the live stream? Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
I also prepared a little filler segment called Truth or Kula, because truth or dare is Gayish. So truth or Kula. And you want to know what the first truth I was going to ask you? So basically, I'm going to ask you something.
Kula is a Hasidic somersault,
Yeah.
which Hasidim dare each other, Chabad Hasidim primarily dare each other to do as sort of a rite of initiation and sort of hazing ritual.
Yeah, but they don't seem too hesitant to take it up. So it's a pretty easy one.
It's not much of a hazing ritual when you want to do it.
But it's a figure of, okay. So this was the first one and I'll do
Truth
it right
or
now.
Kula. Okay.
Yeah, truth or Kula. Have you ever faked a phone, and this is before I saw this letter, have you ever faked a phone call on Kingston Avenue to avoid a stop and chat?
I wish I had enough social skills to do that. I'm much more blunt than that. I will tell people very, very, very bluntly, like, I can't talk right now. I don't ignore people. If people come over to me, I'll always respond to them. If I ever ignored you publicly, I'm saying anyone who's watching and they say that I ignore them publicly, please understand I was not ignoring you. I was oblivious. Sometimes I tend to be tunnel vision and I don't see things.
Don't attribute malice to what could just be ineptness.
Ineptitude, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have a program to get to, and it was a good reminder to everyone watching to take this opportunity to click on the link that may be in the YouTube subscription or wherever you are watching.
Right, if you're watching on
donate.
YouTube, right under the YouTube player, there should be a link right there.
Mm-hmm.
Charity with a D.com/RST, as in Rebbe Shais Taub.
Or you could just Google SoulWords, and by the way, it's very nice. SoulWords
We own that, SoulWords, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
SEO,
right there.
yeah.
Okay, take it away, Rabbi Taub. What are we doing now? We are doing Ask Me Anything.
Oh, okay, yes, all right. Excellent. Thank you. All right, that's so much fun, Chaim, really. So delightful. All right, so this is the Ask Me Anything segment, and we have questions that came in, real people's real questions, but I was told to announce that if you want to send in questions right now in real time, how should they do it? They should either WhatsApp it to the SoulWords WhatsApp. Okay, so I'll have to tell you the phone. What's the SoulWords phone number? Anybody know it? I wish I was more organized. 516-495-3021. We'll say that again.
But that's not a text. That's the WhatsApp.
That is,
broad-
and please don't send me personal information to that phone. That's an office phone. That's how we do our WhatsApp broadcast. So again, that's 516-495-3021. And you text right now. Oh, I see. It's on the screen. You text right now, and we will try to answer your questions. Or you can email rabbi@soulwords.org. And that is my personal email, so you could write private things there. But right now, just questions to deal with live, rabbi@soulwords.org. Okay, so I'm going to start with the ones that came in already. Yes, why not? Okay. All right. Rabbi Taub, I wonder if you could address the statement you made in one of your lessons See, I always appreciate this way of a question opening, where it's a follow-up to something that we've studied together. I'll give you a little inside glimpse about my life. I get a lot of requests to do, especially when they want me to speak to kids and to teens, they'll request to do the Stump the Rabbi format. I don't like the Stump the Rabbi format because it becomes like a gimmick. It's a game. It's just who can ask the most outrageous questions. Like, come on, let's sit down. Let's start having a conversation. And if questions organically arise from whatever it is we're discussing, beautiful. But to just come up with a question out of the blue, those types of questions I find are never really that... they're not personal. They're lacking a certain depth. But when somebody says, like they just did, that this is the question based on a statement that I made in one of my classes, what that means is they thought about something, they tried to internalize it, something didn't really make sense fully for them, and then they were like, hey, I want to follow up on that. I love those types of questions. Okay. And by the way, for a guy like me who doesn't have a brick and mortar established institution, although I do, Baruch Hashem, hang my hat at Chabad of the Five Towns, and that is where, if you do want to find me in any type of regular place in the actual physical world, that's the location that is my base and my center, Baruch Hashem. But because most of what I do is on the internet, my relationship with people is basically... this is what it is. I upload a class. Somebody listens to the class sometime later. They have a question about the class. They email me about the class. To me, that's an interaction. That's a relationship. So, okay. The statement you made in one of your classes about when something bothers you in Torah or something you've learned from Torah, how to approach that. That's very interesting, because that's basically everything I've just been saying, that the person learned something that I taught and it didn't really make sense to them, so they're following up about it. That's actually not only what they're doing here, but it's what they're asking about, the actual subject they're asking about, which is a statement. And I do know what class. Sometimes people say to me, oh, you made a statement in such and such a class, and I don't remember the statement. In this case, I remember exactly what it was. It was actually a class on Parshas Vayechi, and it was about when Yankov Avinu begged Yosef to swear to him that Yosef, would bury Yankov in Eretz Yisrael. That Jacob told Joseph, bury me in Israel. And he says, and I know that you may have hard feelings against me because your mother, Rachel, I buried her on the side of the road. I didn't bury her in Hebron, in the cave of Machpelah. So, yes, there was a whole class about why was Joseph, and it was based on Likutei Sichos, like most of my Parsha classes, if not all of my Parsha classes are based on Likutei Sichos. But at any rate, the point was that Yankov Avinu was answering a question that Yosef had. Not that Yosef questioned his father, like, how could you? Somebody who doubts his Rebbe is like he doubts God himself. So that's not what it meant. It didn't mean he had doubts about it. It meant that he was an earnest student. He was like, Rebbe, Father, I know that there was a reason to this, and I got to hear the answer. Explain it to me, because I want to know. I want to be in on it on the inside. And that's what I explained over there. That when you encounter something in Torah that you don't understand, the greatest compliment to the Torah is to say, this is bothering me. I don't understand this. Because if you just take everything in stride and be like, okay, yeah, I don't get that, but no problem. I believe you. I believe you. That kind of patronizing attitude actually means that you're not engaged with the Torah that you're learning. But when you stop and say, hold on a second, this makes no sense to me, that actually shows that you are engaged. Okay. It take me a while to get through this question. I haven't even gotten through the question. David said to me, before, David's the producer, and he's like, we printed out 6 questions, and then more questions will come in live, but I don't think you're going to get through more than 3 questions. David knows me. Okay, let's see if I even get through 2. I haven't gotten through 1 yet. How to approach that. And if it's possible, to address this from the perspective of teaching high school students as well, that would be a bonus. Oh, I love this question. I find that I guess this is probably a high school teacher. And I mentioned last night how I love to help those who are helping others. I like to teach those who teach others. That's something I find very meaningful. So it sounds like this is probably a high school teacher. I find that they have many more questions than my generation only 10 years ago had. So this person was in high school 10 years ago. So this is probably a 28-year-old person who's teaching high school. More so, they're questioning more basic tenets of Judaism that I thought was simply part of basic emunah and Torah. Okay, fascinating. Okay, I love that question. I'll try to do it briefly so that we can cover more questions. First of all, don't be afraid of questions. Don't be afraid of them. The worst that could happen is you don't know the answer. It's okay. It's okay not to have an answer. Children, especially teens, have to know that their Torah study is a personal process of developing a relationship with Hashem. And if that is the case, then they have to be allowed the freedom to make it personal, which means even if I believe conceptually that something is Torah's emes, it's absolutely true, I know it's true because Torah says so, but if on a personal level, let's say even, I find it offensive. I know that Torah says such and such, but my sensibilities are offended by it. Now, I know Torah is right and I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong, but I'm being honest about the fact that, I don't know, I can't accept this. It bothers me. Children, and for that matter, adults, have to be told you have not only the freedom, but actually you have an obligation. If you take Torah seriously, you have the obligation to express that. So you're saying that 10 years ago, you and your peers didn't have these types of questions? Great. And if you didn't have those questions, I wouldn't go and give you those questions. There's no mitzvah in purposely getting people to be bothered by things that don't bother them. We're not out there to get people riled up to have new questions. But when a question organically arises, and I think to me that's the main thing. When a question organically arises as a real process of somebody trying to get to know Hashem through Torah, then that has to be respected and it has to be cherished. It has to be, when someone's asking a question that's legitimately arising from their mind clashing with the infinite wisdom of Torah, that should be treasured as an opportunity for molding our thinking to Hashem's Torah and for getting to know Hashem more deeply. So anyways, short answer is, don't just tell them that's a wonderful question. Actually convince yourself and believe that these questions are a wonderful opportunity. Be excited by the fact that they're asking questions, and don't feel any pressure that you have to have a smart answer. You do not have to have a smart answer. I can promise you something. Want to know the trick? A lot of people think I'm smart, and I don't even actually say smart things. What I do, it's very funny. If you just validate people's questions and show a little bit of empathy, they imagine that you said something smart. It's uncanny, but try it out, especially if you teach high schoolers. You don't have to have a smart answer to every question, but if you can validate them and affirm that their process is legitimate and necessary, all this, they won't remember what you said, but they'll say, "Oh yeah, he was a good teacher. Yeah, he taught us a lot." Maybe you didn't even teach them anything, but you validated. So that's, yeah. Okay, next question. David says, move on. A lot of questions are coming in live. Okay, where are they coming? To the WhatsApp or to the email? To my WhatsApp. Okay. So I'm going to try to take a look.
While Rabbi Taub gets to the next question, I wanted to read some beautiful donations that have just come in the last half hour. Yeah. And I specifically want to mention Eli Tabak. I don't know if there's any relation. But
yeah, that Eli Melech is Moshe's brother.
It's a beautiful.
And they're both
thing.
dear friends of mine.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That was Eli Tabak. I'm losing it. And just now I saw Anonymous in honor of Ellie Nash. And Ellie Nash, who's
He was on the show the other night.
Yeah,
and he's a matcher.
And he's a matcher. And he also shared something when he was on live that he's encouraging anyone who appreciates his work, since he just he does that for free and for fun. And he's doing a fascinating program this week with Yossi Jacobson, I believe. And he encourages people, as a token of appreciation for his work, to donate to your campaign. And that speaks highly about his appreciation for you and his. You guys have done some great stuff together. So Eli Tabak, $3,000. And I wanted to read this. Avi Singer, and 360, and he writes, "Thank you, Rabbi Taub, for making the Tanya so inspirational and relatable."
Avi is like a guy not only who learns with me online, but he...
I'm sorry, I read the wrong... Yes.
Oh, you read the wrong dedication?
It's just popping up because the donations are coming in so fast that the screen...
You can't even... It's like
I can't
Tetris.
keep up. It's beautiful.
But Avi Singer, he's a neighbor of mine. I mean, I think he lives in Far Rockaway, but not far.
I'm sorry. So I read the Avi Singer, $1,728.
Oh, wow.
It's an interesting number, and I would love to. A small token of appreciation for Rabbi Taub and all he's done for me.
Baruch Hashem. Yeah, Avi's a great guy. Okay.
And the other comment I read
about the Tanya?
Tanya's Andrea Scott, $360.
Oh, beautiful.
And
Amazing.
then here's another one. This was our guest the first night. Pop Insanity Gourmet Popcorn, who we had live
Reb
on
Aaron.
show. Reb Aaron. $1,000.
Baruch
And
Hashem.
it's a nice reminder about that he's offering a 10% off coupon if anyone wants to.
SoulWords coupon code.
SoulWords coupon code for 10% off any of their stuff online. Stock up for Purim. And then here we have Esther H. $20. Thank you, Rabbi Taub, for your continued parenting support. It's beautiful. And yes, there's some others I will get to a bit later. But we're going back
to questions. Okay, because I have a bunch of questions that came in.
One more. I have a trivia for the audience if they donate. I saw a beautiful a donation came in from one Zvi Hamnik. All right, and I'm going to assume I know who that is, growing up in Borough Park. And here's a trivia for the audience.
Yeah.
Can you name, all right, the movie was a short, I guess, which was very ahead of its time, both production and message-wise. It was made in early mid-90s. The name of that movie or video, VHS, which Zvi Hamnik appeared on.
Oh, I know your
as
question.
well as I think it may have been one of the very first.
It was my first public
young,
appearance.
slim Shais Taub, who also makes a cameo.
Yes, there's a video that we're both in. That is true.
And I'll tell you what, once we get someone who can, and I got a double. We also did some Crown Heights nostalgia earlier. I want anyone, I'll read it out loud, who can guess the name of the movie and then where that movie was on a consistent loop.
Where it was looped, what restaurant that no longer exists.
Okay,
fine, I ruined it. And also, another trivia question, who produced that video? The name of the producer, because he's a neighbor of mine also in the Five Towns.
All right, so I'll read it when we get there. Back to questions, live Q&A.
Okay. By the way, Reb Tzvi came over to me at Bentzi's a few weeks ago, and he was like buying pickles, and he said to me, he reminded me when I was like 24 years old, and I forgot about this, and when he first said it, I didn't believe him, but then after I left, I thought about it, and then I remembered it was true. He said he was at a Fabrengen, and he was harassing me because some of my friends told him, you're not going to believe this, Chaim, which is my camera, by the way, David. 4? Okay. People don't realize we're 321 Motion Studios. This is like this is Hollywood. There's like 10 cameras here, so it's hard to keep track. So Tzvi came over to me and he's like, "Your buddies told me this was like 25 years ago. Your bacher is sitting on a Fabrengen, and they said that you don't want to learn Chassidus, you only want to learn Gemara." And I had forgotten that I went through such a phase. That is true. And I said, I don't relate to Chassidus and I can't learn Chassidus. I'm just going to learn Nigla. I'm just going to learn Gemara. And he told me, and at first when he told me, I didn't remember. Then afterwards, I was like, yeah, that's true. He said that he told me that your future is that you're going to teach Chassidus. He says, and he said, in fact, I even told you you're going to have parnasa from it, which hopefully $500,000 worth of. He said this, and he said, so that's why you need to learn Chassidus. And then he reminded me that I said to him, if that's true, that my whole life and career and even my parnasa will come from teaching Chassidus, so then I shouldn't learn Nigla at all. I'll only learn Chassidus. And then he said to me, no, but it's important you should continue to learn Nigla because the people who you're going to have an influence on are going to respect that you bring sources from Torah from not the areas of Chassidus, and it's going to be very important. So,
that is so specific.
Is that ridiculously specific?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. At any rate, back to, David says we have just a few more minutes. We have questions here that came in. All right. If Jews can't gamble, why can we play Dreidel? Okay. So that's a wonderful question. I want to tell you about, first of all, I have a class on SoulWords and on YouTube. And
Can you tell us why that question is Kafka-esque? People love using that term.
Kafka-esque. Oh, did you see my class on Dreidel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually gave a class on Dreidel, and my opening statement, I guess, was that there's a Kafka short story, which in German is called Der Kreisel, which means the top. The spinning top, and it's a story about a philosopher who seeks to understand the mysteries of the universe by observing the spinning of a spinning top. And then that was my segue to say that there's a lot of chassidus on the dreidel, and by understanding the dreidel, you can understand the nature of the mysteries of the universe. At any rate, what with the gambling part? The gambling part actually is not a bug, it's a feature. Remember, the whole purpose of dreidel was to study Torah undercover, that when the Greeks would come, we could pretend we were playing a game. Okay, so why don't we pretend we were playing 3-on-3 basketball? Why not? Because 3-on-3 basketball is skill. A lot of things are skill. Dreidel specifically is chance, and that reinforced the undercover disguise, which was, hey, we're just playing a game of chance, as if we don't even believe in Hashgacha Pratis. We don't believe that there's a maker who's coordinating and orchestrating everything. So it was all part of the ruse. Okay. Please don't share my name. Okay. What I actually don't see the name, because you should know, by the way, on the WhatsApp, the SoulWords WhatsApp, there's like contact 5,252, contact 2,100. They're just numbers. I don't see names in the SoulWords broadcast WhatsApp phone. Please don't share my name. Okay, I don't have your name. What does the Tanya terms iskafia and isabcha mean in practical terms? I loved it. That's a great question, because I like to try to translate things into, I think that's a tagline of SoulWords, spiritual wisdom and down-to-earth language. So I guess that's what they're asking me to do. So iskafia and isabcha are Aramaic terms. They're from the Zohar. And I'll translate them literally. Iskafia means subjugation. Isabcha means transformation. In down-to-earth terms, I would say control yourself and change yourself. Control yourself means that there's an aspect of self that you're not allowing to be granted expression because it's not aligned with Hashem's will. And you acknowledge this fact that there are parts of you that are not aligned with Hashem's will. And it's just a fact. By the way, today's Tanya Chita speaks about that. We're finishing chapter 27 of Tanya, the daily Tanya. It speaks about just realizing that for most of us, we do have an aspect of self which is not aligned with Hashem's will. And we don't have to be ashamed of it. That's part of serving Hashem is to control that impulse. But that can't be all there is to it, because then essentially we're saying the only tool we have for you is white knuckling. We call it, white knuckling, holding on tight till your knuckles get white. There has to be more to it. White knuckling is good to begin with, but then we have to have another mode of service, and that is change yourself. And change yourself means an educational process of slowly adapting yourself to be aligned with Hashem's will, not just behaviorally, but emotionally. And it's a process. Generally in Chabad, the way we do it is through meditation, of thinking about the greatness of Hashem. And the more we think about Hashem, the more we care about Hashem. And the more we care about Hashem, the more we genuinely care about what He wants. And then not only are we doing it as an act of self-sacrifice, but we can actually, on some level, to some degree, do what Hashem wants in a way where we're also enjoying it. And that would be isapcha. And it's not binary, all or nothing, black and white. It's not like either you did isapcha or you didn't. There are degrees of it. And there are different areas of life. You might achieve isapcha in one area and not in others. Like there might be mitzvahs for you that you used to really struggle with, and now they're natural for you. So you did isapcha with that mitzvah, and you didn't do isapcha with other mitzvahs. And that's what it is. Okay, another question. How to stay feeling connected when you don't necessarily get straight answers like others do? What is the right way to interpret the letter? I'm going to guess that this person is asking, when they say interpret the letter, they're probably talking about egress. I'm so glad someone's asking this, because the next hour is a whole segment just on egress. But I'll talk about this right now. When I have a 30-second answer. When I did the egress class, 30 Letters in 30 Days, so many people came to me before it came out. And they were like, oh, are you going to teach us how to get answers from the egress? I said, yes, but not what you think. They were asking me, how do you randomly select a letter and then interpret the Rebbe's answer to you? I said, you know what? I'm not going to randomly select anything. Open up page 1 and just start reading the Rebbe's letters and learn how to think the way that Rebbe is teaching us to think. So actually, if you want to know how to interpret letters in that type of way, I don't know. I actually don't know how to do that. But what I love doing is training myself how to think like the Rebbe's letters train us to think, which means basically, and maybe for some this is Hasidic blasphemy, that when you start reading the Rebbe's letter, after the first paragraph, you should anticipate which direction the Rebbe is going to go. Sometimes you won't call it, but there's a certain delight you get. Like, I know, I see the Rebbe's gang, I see the Rebbe's approach. That's how the Rebbe is going to. That's where the Rebbe is going, because that's what the Igros are for. They're to training us how to think. Shall I do one more really quickly? Yeah. Okay. Recommendation for wife of someone. So this is either the wife is writing this or her friend. Going through tremendous mental health difficulties. Or maybe the husband's writing and his wife is going through. Okay, I'll have to try to parse this. This is totally spontaneous. I haven't looked at this before. This just came in. Haven't been able to find someone to talk to in the Frum community. But I guess in short, how to connect with God when all feels out of control. I'm in therapy and working on things I can control, but it's really hard. Okay. I think this question is coming from a woman who's married to a man who's going through mental health difficulties. And she is in therapy to try to stay in her lane and try to stay focused on what she can do, with the acknowledgement that there's a big part of her life, meaning her husband's mental health, which she cannot directly control. And it has a big effect on her and presumably on her children. She doesn't mention children or how many or ages, but that's what I'm picking up from the letter. Oh, okay. And the biggest thing I'm picking up is the loneliness, the isolation, the feeling that she has no one to talk to. She's asking also, she doesn't ask how to find someone to talk to, but she mentions she hasn't found somebody to talk to. First of all, for whatever it's worth, just know that for whatever reason Hashem chose, I am a clearinghouse for a lot of stuff that's going on in Klal Yisrael. People tell me stuff. So you should know, I hope you're listening right now. I hope you're still there. You're not the only one. Maybe this is maybe this makes you feel even worse, but it's just the fact. You're not the only one who's going through this right now. I hope that itself, even if you haven't found someone yet, and I stress the word yet, who you can confide in and talk to, you should know that you're not alone. There are so many people going through this struggle with you. And all I can tell you is that the therapy is good. It's great. I'm glad that you're tending to your mental health. It sounds like you're also attempting to tend to your spiritual health. And Hashem tests us. You know, in school, they teach you the lesson and then they give you the test. In life, they give you the test and then you're taught the lesson. And of course, Chazal, our sages say, Ein chochem kibal nesayin. There's no one as wise as someone who has been through the school of hard knocks, through real life experience. I don't mean this, I'm not saying this is a justification for the hardships that you're going through. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm not being Hashem's defense attorney. Hashem can defend himself. But I'm telling you that your challenges do make you wiser. They make you more compassionate. And in some small way, maybe you'll find some comfort in beginning to channel some of that hard-earned wisdom and compassion. You have the wisdom and compassion. You have it because of everything that you're going through. If you start channeling it by using it to help others, I think you'll find some comfort in that. And I also want to tell you that, you know, how you're looking for someone who you can confide in. I don't know if you're going to find that person, but I promise you that to somebody else, you are that person. There's someone who's looking, perhaps with even more desperation than you are, for someone to talk to, and they don't know it yet, but they're looking for you. So put yourself out there. And I'm glad that your question reached me, so I had an opportunity to speak about this. Okay, I think we're done with this segment. Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi Taub. I did want to call out a few donations, and they are coming, and it's so beautiful to see them. I love when my screen starts flickering. This just came in, anonymous, $36 to Rabbi Taub and family. Thank you for answering my dreidel question. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
That was the dreidel guy.
And he says, come to Arizona.
Come to Arizona? I would love to come to Arizona. You know, I have a lot of good friends in Arizona.
Some of my best friends. Chani Morazov, $108. Thank you, Rabbi Shais, for all you do for Klal Yisrael. Mendy and Fermi Whiteman, $360. Thank you for all the resources you provide to our shluchas. Wow, look at this beautiful donation from Miriam and Matti Sandman, $3,000 in honor of Rabbi Taub.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's serious. Baruch Hashem.
Yeah. And $100 Miriam Goldberg. I think she's donated every year so far that I've been involved. Thank you. Anonymous, $108 Lili Nishmas Michal Nechama Bas Tzion. And I want to read a few testimonials, which I have in front of me. Since I don't live in a frum area, I always need online learning, but especially during COVID, when I was home more than ever before and needing more inspiration than ever, Rabbi Taub was right there, Baruch Hashem. Yes, these classes have been my strength since I lost my husband. Wow. Rabbi Taub's words are always heartfelt, introspective, wise, and kind. So real, down to earth, uplifting, practical, life-changing, and inspiring. And I think people see them on the screen as I'm reading them. And this is another one. He's a very lucid speaker who handles his subjects effortlessly and makes the material he presents interesting and entertaining and informative. His reasoning is logical and persuasive. And we have a live guest in studio. And if the camera will get to our guest. And surprise.
Is he on camera? Yeah, and Shimmy's here. Rabbi Weinbaum's here.
Yeah, I'm very, very honored to be
This
here.
is the third Weinbaum we've had.
I want to just, this is the elephant in the room. So I want to say, yeah, it is the third Weinbaum. And we talked about your sister from Puerto Vallarta. So, but I want to clarify. This is
4
not
out of 14.
4 out of 14. Okay. This is not nepotism. Shimi's not here because he's David's brother. He's here because he's one of my
biggest fans.
Okay. I'll you know what? I'm learning to accept that kind of praise. Thank you. He's one of my biggest fans, but I want to flip it on you. I'm one of your biggest fans. And I want to tell you something. Even though you got me to dress up in a foolish king costume in front of the entire Eastern Parkway on Chol Hamoed.
If you think Rabbi Taub has been vulnerable if I push his limits, that does not come close to what
this guy roped me into. And nevertheless, I want to tell you what a fan I am. And
please, someone, could we get that picture on the screen?
The picture
I'll
of the
forward
king
it
costume?
to you.
Yeah. And I want to tell you how much my kids love the Chidon and how much they've grown from it and their passion, not just for Limud Torah, but can I say something Chassidish, a little bit Chassidish? But Rambam isn't just Limud Torah, it's the Rebbe's takana, something that was dear to the Rebbe and is dear to the Rebbe. And my son Avram Abba, who was here last night and the night before, and I think he's even coming later tonight, I think he was the first year where they went through the what year would have that been? Where they were the first year who went through all the grades. It was like a few years ago. Yeah. He's 16 now or 17. He's 17. He's in Shir Aleph Zal. So when he was 13, he was does that make sense? 4 years ago. At any rate, so he learned the whole Chidon curriculum. And thank you.
You're very welcome, and it's really special to hear all of that. But I'm really here tonight for you. I've personally grown so much from you. I learned a lot of Chassidus and loved Chassidus and spent so much time davening, but it never became to me as real as it has through your shiurim. And it's not just me. So many members of my family have learned through your shiurim on Shar B'Tachin and so many other shiurim, and we all feel indebted to the big rabbi of the world and the man that's making a big difference. So thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor. And I want to mention, I don't know if this was the thought process behind this, but we just did a segment called Ask Me Anything. The last time we were together, I want to talk about the last 2 times we were together. The last time we were together was here in Crown Heights. It was at Beis Rivka High School. Last night, Mrs. Blau, extracurricular director from Beis Rivka, was here. And she mentioned this, but I'm mentioning it again. Yud Shvat, I had many, many offers to go to different communities for Yud Shvat. I chose to stay here and to go to Beis Rivka. And Rabbi Weinbaum and I did an Ask the Rabbi, but a real Ask the Rabbi, not some jokey, stump the rabbi. It was real. It was authentic. We took apart those questions, and the girls were super engaged, and it was really, really, really. It was. I have no words for it. I mean, it was. And I want to thank the Hanhal of Beis Rivka because they were there, and afterwards they said, we appreciate how deep it was. They appreciated the depth.
So did I. You really took us on an incredible journey, and there was a lot of times in the journey you were taking on, like, we didn't feel like you would get us there, but at the end, everyone was like, wow, that was unbelievable.
But the second 2 times ago, where were we together?
In London.
In London, which is your hometown. By the way, I have something here. When I was in London last time, look what I got here. This is very cool. This is a Tanya. You've ever seen this before? Okay. I picked this up in Golders Green. But this is a Tanya, which was printed at British Army headquarters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never seen that before.
Yeah, you never seen it? Take a look. At any rate, so we did a Ask the Rabbi Yud Tes Kislev together in London for the local girls, and it was a weird thing. They put us together. I like you. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they put us. We never did like a duet together, and it was so good. I realized we make a good team. So after we got back from London, we were like, we got to do this again. And So Yud Teskisel in London, Yud Shvat in Crown Heights, and coming to a community near you. But I got to tell you, this guy, you think that I'm comfortable because I like public speaking and everything. Sometimes I have a hard time with audiences, especially young audiences. And you made me feel so safe, and you were so good with them, and you created such an open space for me to do what I do, and I loved it. It was so.
Yeah, you really were tremendous, and what you mentioned before about the way you took apart those questions, I think that really is. I would use the format of Chassidus. In other words, the same way that the Rebbe asks a question on a mimer, when it comes to a mimer or a sicha, he just throws one question and another one and a third one and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and you feel like, oh my gosh, there's like no answer to this. But then the Rebbe comes across and gives you the background. And once you get that background, all of a sudden, all of those questions are suddenly gone. And that's what you did. You really, really it wasn't about answering that question. It was about taking us to a new space. And in that new space, not only there's no questions, but what felt so painful before actually felt so good.
This morning I was teaching in seminary, and I teach in Beis Rivka Seminary, which I'm very honored to do. And I actually started off class. I said, ladies, I'm in the middle of a $500,000 campaign. I don't know why I'm here. My Nefesh Bahamas was telling me, call in sick, cancel. And then all of a sudden I realized, hold on, why am I raising money? So I can teach Torah. And now I have a room full of future leaders of world Jewry, these Lubavitcher girls who are all going to go out and have families, and many of them lead communities. And I said, I have to be here. So what we were learning together in Beis Rivka Seminary this morning, we were learning the first mimer from Hemshech Samach Vav. I don't mess around with them, no kid stuff. We were learning the Rebbe Rashab Samach Vav, Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shechol Yos B'Shabbos. And why am I talking about this? Because I said to them, the Rebbe Rashab is going to ask a question. He's going to ask, why do we forgo the awesome power of shofar when Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos? And that question itself may not be the most burning question in your life. It may not be a question that would keep you awake at night on its own, but it's the beginning of a journey. And if you go through the journey, you're going to discover something that I promise you will be deeply personal to you. So it's about the journey.
They say that those questions are the passport for the mimer.
Yeah, that's right. That's the expression. I think maybe it was Hill Potticher who questioned, what do you need the passport? But that's how you do it. You can't take it. You say, what do I need a piece of paper for? I just want to go on the trip. But the piece of paper is the ticket to the trip. And it's a process. And I wish people understood that we don't have to be afraid of questions. We don't have to get rid of questions. And certainly we don't have to shame people for having questions. A question is a springboard for movement. Lean into it and enjoy the ride, because if it's Torah, it's always going to end up with something deeply meaningful. It always will. That's what it is.
100%.
You listen. I'm not. They say that I'm good at bringing stuff down, but you bring things even further down because you bring it down for children. So how about this? Could you
have that picture I sent you? Put it.
You
up.
Have the picture? Oh my goodness. Okay, so while they're putting in the picture, but do you have a message for the children? And oh my goodness, yeah, okay. So that's me, Eastern Parkway, Cholamite Sukkos, in a king costume. This guy
in the rain.
Do
you remember what I told you when I asked you to do that?
I don't remember even what you said to get me to do it, but
I remember
was apparently
so,
effective.
Whatever it was, I'm sure it was in a louder voice.
I remember so.
What did you tell me?
So
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember what I told you. I said, Rabbi Taub, you always speak about that. You can't just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. And if this is all real, then how would you be able to say no?
That's, in fact, you even quoted chapter and verse. You threw back a particular talk at me. You said, remember that talk you gave to the head staff of the camps last summer when you spoke about Mashiach is when all the spiritual ideas are going to become tangible and empirically evident. V'rochel basar, we're going to see with our flesh. Remember that? And I was like, yeah. Okay, that's what we got to do. We got to make Hakel come alive and be real. I was like, yeah, we got to make it real. The kids have to see it. Yeah. So someone's going to have to dress up as the king. Okay, all right. And he got me. Anyways, what's a message for the kids and kids of all ages?
Wow, a message for the children. So I think that one of the most meaningful messages that the Rebbe speaks in the Rebbe Retzer Kinder and by the rallies, the Rebbe is telling us that before Mashiach comes, even the young children are going to learn the deepest secrets of the Torah. And one would question if they're the deepest secrets of the Torah, so then only the greatest Torah scholars should be able to know them. And definitely not children, and definitely not children of all ages. And the answer for that is yes, before Mashiach comes, there'll be people like Rabbi Shais who will be able to bring down those messages to a point and to a place where even a child and even children of all ages can actually connect, relate to it, and feel and understand that this is the best way of life. It's not that we're learning Chassidus just to be able to learn another subject, to know more, to understand more. This is the best way of life, and as you live it and feel it, you're really moving into Geula in a very real way. And thank you again, Rabbi Tal, for all that you've given me personally, my family, and the greater family of Klal Yisrael. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very meaningful.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Weinbaum. And we have a few more testimonials that I'd like to read. And also a reminder that this is a campaign that we're running. And wow, another beautiful donation just coming in now. Khani S. from Brooklyn. My quote-unquote secular sponsor is a mega fan of your Torah and Tanya. Her neshama is aflame.
Meaning she's saying that her sponsor, I'm assuming she means in a program of recovery, is Jewish but quote-unquote secular, meaning not religious, but she's a big fan of my Tanya class, which is not a surprise to me that somebody who has the spirituality of a program of recovery would find themselves very comfortable in Tanya, and that is very cool.
Speaking of which, you answered a question just at the end there before about someone, and you said something about how their own struggle that they may be in the midst of now, chances are they'll see soon how that can benefit others specifically.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. It reminded me of something it says in this book, that we will see how our experience
can be useful to others.
And it's interesting because so often, especially when it comes to matters pertaining to our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, that it, like, there's a lot of old ideas about, or old core beliefs of somehow them being self-serving or self-indulgent, to sort of like even have the right to address them. And
how dare you try to be a better person? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I think to every one of these resistant ideas, there's like a truth that's hiding underneath. And perhaps it's that if one's working under the impression or the assumption that it is an end road in and of itself, that it's just my own healing, and then I'm just...
Aha. Right. At the end of the day, if it's just about my recovery, then how important is it? But if it's my service to others, then it's a duty.
Okay,
by the way, David's going to be so upset because I'm going to make us another 30 seconds late. But the 4 cups Haggadah, Pesach is coming up. I brought these. I forgot. I keep forgetting why I have a How many of them are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 6 of them here. This is the recovery-based Haggadah. It's a real Haggadah. It has actual text of Haggadah. You can use it at your Pesach Seder, but it has explanations of the that are written, informed by the spirit of the 12-step program. 4 cups Haggadah. And can we get in on that so people can see that? Chaim, I'll allow you to make up what donation amount.
And then you're going to get upset at me that I don't.
No, I won't
keep
be
track.
upset. Whatever you say. But I have 6 of them.
Only 6.
I have 6 of them. Yeah.
Any effective donation of 300 or more. So that means 150 bucks.
being doubled to 300.
Yeah.
So the next 6 of 300 or more are going to get the Haggadah.
Yeah, and just to make it easier for the
and
folks.
say the time so we can look it up afterwards.
I know it's 9/11, but I know it's not easy.
Don't say that.
So I'm going to say the most recent.
It's a minute before 9:12.
This makes it easy because the most recent donation that just came in right now, and this is a biggie, and this is, whoa. And every year they donate. So far that we've had the live stream. We just got $2,000
Nice.
from a little group called 321 Motion.
Those guys.
The
They
best.
do that every year. And it's always
The best.
But you know
And-
what? I got to thank them for making it easy that I'm not going to have to mail one of these.
Exactly.
Just leave it here.
Good timing, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi Taub. And that's not going to come off the bill. I mean, that's they have to actually pay. Thank you for all 321 Motion for all your production needs. They're amazing.
Best video
amazing
production outfit there is.
And we have some testimonials that I want to read. If you could put them on the screen. Number 10. Rabbi Taub's teachings are so honest, straightforward, and real. He shows up sincere with real advice. Thank you. And this is the next one from Brooklyn. Thank you. SoulWords is brilliant. Rabbi Shais Taub has so much to share. Wisdom, outlook, knowledge. There are so many different topics to listen to and to learn from. He has helped me to understand our core values and strengthen my emunah. I've learned and listened while at home or going for a walk. It has brought me comfort and encouragement in tough times. There's another one from Portugal. Wow. You are really a virtual community. It's quite amazing. It brings me comfort, proximity to myself, and peace to my heart. Hope to and a return to a loving home. This one, another international one. This one from Manchester, England. SoulWords is one of my first go-to resources for nourishing my soul with practical and mystical Torah teachings that I am able to apply to my life. That's a perfect summary of what SoulWords is. Practical, mystical Torah teachings that I'm able to apply to my life. We have a live guest via Zoom, Rabbi Taub. Do you recognize the person on the screen in front of you?
Yeah. Oh, I know who that is. Yes. Should I intro her? I'm sure. Okay. Is Mrs. Rachel Flickstein from Delaware? You're in Delaware right now? Can you hear me? You hear me right now? She can't hear me. She's not speaking yet. For sure she can't hear me.
While we get that worked out, another donation with a
I know who that is. Yes.
Whoa, that's feedback.
Should I intro her?
Okay, we're gonna work that
Now
out.
I'm hearing myself.
Rachel Flickstein from Delaware.
Getting a
You're in
delayed.
Delaware right now?
I'm in Delaware right now.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
amazing.
I
You
hear
hear
you.
me right now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I bet you hear me twice
I hear
right
you.
now. You hear me twice?
I do. I hear you. Do
Or you hear me once?
She's not speaking yet. For sure she can't hear.
Why can I hear myself twice? I'm hearing my echo.
I hear you.
While we get that worked out, another donation with a
Yes.
getting a
What's
delay.
That's feedback.
What?
Should I-
No, but just talk loud. It's okay.
Okay, we're gonna work that out.
What?
Myself.
Oh, that's what it. If you
Oh,
hear
you-
us, you have to turn off YouTube.
You have your live broadcast on. You have to turn it off.
Yeah, I bet you hear me twice right now.
You have to turn off your YouTube. You got it?
It's like one of those tunnel things where you see yourself in a screen, which is
Turn off your YouTube and unmute yourself.
it's the old days of talk radio. Turn off your radio.
Okay, now. I
Right.
don't
That is
hear-
like the old days of talk. Turn off your radio. That's right. Okay. All right. Amazing. Good call. All right. You with us? You hear me now? You hear me? You hear me? She doesn't hear me. Because maybe it's muted. Okay. David. Okay.
I hear you.
Now you hear me. Okay. Excellent.
Don't hear two of you. I hear one.
Okay. You just hear one voice. Okay.
Now I hear one. Yes.
Excellent. All right. Shomer v'zacher b'dibur echad. All right. So, you're joining us from Delaware, where you are on Shlichus, and you've recently started a very interesting new project that you took on, something that a lot of people wouldn't take on, which is a new Ma'aset Chinuch. And I'm sure you have a lot to tell us. So, but go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's really an honor to be here, and thank you for having me join you for this incredible opportunity to really support SoulWords here. I remember 12 years ago, I think it was the first time that I actually heard you speaking at a JLI retreat. And you were talking about our relationship with Hashem, why Hashem created the world. And I was so enamored by how you brought it down and how you gave such beautiful analogies, made it so practical, as people have been saying all night. And I wanted more of it. So I went online to look, and I couldn't find anything. I found maybe 1 or 2 videos on Chabad.org. I was so disappointed. I kept waiting, like, when is Rabbi Shais Taub going to have things that I can watch when I'm not at the JLI retreat? And so when SoulWords launched a few years ago, it was like the best gift.
Can I just tell you about your experience? So you're saying you heard me 12 years ago? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I've been going around speaking for at least 15 years, but it's crazy. I would make videos and I would put them on other platforms, and I was like, okay, it's out there, it's online. And it literally was not until 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago that I created one place as my virtual home online to start putting my content all in one place. And I started with a little bit of, it wasn't even a crowdfunding type of fundraiser. I got a gift from a couple of donors, and I had just enough to make a website. And then I reached more people, and then I raised a little bit more money, and then we made a bigger website. And that's the history of it. So it's interesting. Your personal experience is really the story of SoulWords in a way. So I actually didn't know that, but I'm glad to hear that now you can find my classes easily.
I'm glad too. And I love how it's been growing so much over time. And one of the projects I think that had the biggest impact on me yet was your 30 Letters in 30 Days project. You know, getting ready for Pesach, and it's very hard to do proper hachana for Yud Aleph Nisan for me in the past and on my own. And being a part of this, like, really, I felt like I was part of this worldwide revolution of everyone learning these letters and strengthening so much our appreciation and understanding of the Rebbe and his perspective on things, and the deepening our hiskashrus in such a way that was beyond words. And I think especially as I was progressing and starting this Ma'aset Chinuch while being on Shlichus, there were so many things that were so relevant. You know, there was one of the letters was about being a pioneer and starting a new high school, Beis Rivka, with Mrs. Techtel, her letter, and many other ones there that were like exact. I felt like,
and, you know, both of those letters you just mentioned were letters to women. And I'm not a woman, but one of the things I appreciate about the Igrus is you got a window to how many different types of people that Rebbe was communicating with. So men, women, young people, old people, religious people, not yet religious people. And when you learn a sicha or a mimer, it's sometimes it's hard to see, well, what would this look like in this person's life or in that person's life? When you see how that ever wrote to a person, you're like, that's what it looks like. That's how Chassidus comes alive in the life of a mother or an educator or an entrepreneur or a child, or all walks of life. So, and I don't think we tried, like, specifically, you know, sometimes there's like token representation, like, oh, make sure to have some women's stuff in there. I don't think we went out of our way to do that. I think that's just what a cross section of Igrus Kodesh is. I mean, that's what you find. You find Klal Yisrael represented. So, yeah.
And I love that you taught us how to do that, like how to learn a letter and learn the Rebbe's style and learn the Rebbe's, well, obviously. And it's like, well, maybe that wasn't obvious, but that should be what's obvious to us now, you know?
Right.
And you were able to teach that, and you see that you teach it also through your example. That one of the things that amazes me so much about the way that you approach how you're teaching things is that it speaks to all different people. And no matter if it's on the most beginner level, I could share it with people in my community who barely have any Jewish background and education, and to the most advanced level of people who have been in yeshiva for their whole lives. It just brings it in such a real way, like you were saying earlier about being able to live Hasidus and have it become a part of you. And then when it's a part of you, you can share it with other people. So after your Gimel Tammuz Siyum, I also went in for that. I went in for the Yud Aleph Nisan Siyum. I was so inspired. We had a whole community Shabbos that Shabbos, and I gave over like the whole Farbrengen to the community. But then they felt a connection, and a few people went to the aisle themselves after that and started writing letters in themselves. So it's a chain effect. You're creating something that's so beyond a website. Like this is something that has such far-reaching impact because you're inspiring others who then have the opportunity to go inspire others, whether it's in a school setting, a community setting, a shlicha setting, or just our own family, and being able to talk at the Shabbos table or the dinner table about things that are so relevant and real to us. So I want to thank you for creating that forum for us to be able to hear your insight and wisdom and how you emulate the Rebbe in that way of being able to speak to all different types and all different ages and stages of life, and giving us that opportunity to then pass that forward and share it forward. So it's a privilege to be here, and I hope everyone gives generously to the effort that you're doing here, and that it really deserves everything you're trying to build and bring in tonight and more. You should be very successful in this campaign.
Amen. Thank you so much. And it's very meaningful. I mentioned this a couple of times during this. This is 4 days. Tonight is night number 3. So there are certain themes that have been recurring, and one of them is where I shared that I have a special satisfaction in providing resources for influential people, for educators, for those who are working with others. And so some of the things you just told me now about how you were able to share some of the things that I was sharing, and that you were able to take that, make it your own, and share it with your community, that really that's the most meaningful feedback that I can get. I appreciate it.
There's two things. I especially love your stories and analogies that you use that make that concept be so real in our lives. Like it just brings it so practically down. The theory and the concept becomes real when it's with that story or with that joke.
Can I tell you about the stories? Because actually, I don't know, David's going to get nervous. I'm going to get into a tangent. David says it's okay. Storytelling is a very dangerous occupation, because as a speaker, the greatest fear is that you'll lose your audience's attention. And stories immediately grab people's attention. There's something about the narrative format. If you're losing a crowd by speaking expositorily, meaning explaining a concept, all you have to do is just go, and once there was a man, and he was lost in a forest. And all of a sudden you have everybody because, and then what happened to him? Right? Well, you didn't even know the guy existed till 2 seconds ago. Now you're on the edge of your seat. You want to know what happened to him. So it's always very tempting to tell stories because it's a way to get your audience, but that's manipulative. And one of my things is, I don't think people necessarily know what goes on in my mind when I'm talking and teaching and speaking, but one of my constant voices in my mind is to avoid to the utmost extreme any type of rhetoric that is manipulative, that's easy, that's cheap. There are certain things that the human brain is just wired that way, that you're gonna get a reaction. Okay, and I could give you a list of them right now. This is not the time or the place for it. Storytelling is such a cheap shot because it's a way to immediately engage the human brain. But let me tell you, when you tell a story, here's to my thinking how it has to be. This is from the Frierdiker Rebbe. He says that when the Alter Rebbe arrived in Mezrich, that's where he studied with his Rebbe, the Maggid. One of the first things they taught him was that a story about the Rebbe is Torah Shebechsav, is the written Torah. And a teaching from the Rebbe, like an idea that the Rebbe taught, is Torah Shebal Peh, is the oral Torah. Sort of like Torah Shebechsav, the written Torah is full of stories of like the patriarchs and the matriarchs and the Exodus and these things. So stories about the Rebbe is the written Torah. And then Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, is like, concepts, ideas. So those are the two different types of teachings. So we know, follow this, that those concepts, Torah Shebechsav, Torah Shebal Peh, the written Torah and the oral Torah, correspond to Chochmah and Bina, respectively. Torah Shebechsav is like Chochmah. That's why it's very condensed. It's like a story, but you're not sure of the deeper meaning because that's how Chochmah is. It's condensed. Torah Shebal Peh is Bina. Bina is elaboration, explanation, elucidation. That's what it is. Explains things. So follow this. He says in Sefer Yetzirah, which is a Kabbalah Sefer, it says Mevin bechochma vechakim bevina. Mevin bechochma, bina eyes chochmali, right? Bina eyes is the verb. Use your bina. Chochmali, that's the adverb.
Right.
And chochma eyes binali. Bina eyes chochmali and chochma eyes binali. Okay? Which means, this is the Friedrich Rebbe's word. And remember, chochma and bina correspond to Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh, which in turn correspond to a story and a teaching.
Right.
So therefore, here's the punchline. Every story is the embodiment of a teaching, and every teaching, every idea has a story which perfectly embodies it. And the job is to find that story. So we don't do storytelling just because, sit around the campfire, tell ghost stories. The story is the tool to embody, to bring down whatever the concept in Chassidus is that we're trying to teach.
Rabbi Taub, can you give us a story that embodies the message we were just talking about? I don't think my mic's on. That embodies the message we were just talking about healing by way of giving something back.
That you
You'll tell us soon. I think you know which one.
Oh, you have a story?
That your healing has come full circle.
Oh, that's a
Once.
long story. Oh, my goodness. I don't know. And we'll see at 10 o'clock if David lets me tell that story. Yeah, it's a classic.
That's a story about.
Yes,
story.
yes, Chaim. I know the story you're referring to. Okay. All right. David is saying we have to move on to the next segment. Okay, Mrs. Lichtenstein, thank you so much. It was very meaningful for you to be here. And I didn't know about your personal journey in discovering the videos and everything. The SoulWords, yeah. And I guess this is just one story of many stories.
Yeah. And one last thing, if that doesn't...
Yeah, please.
Is I really also appreciate how much you care to help others, and that you really go out of your way beyond when you're so busy and overtaxed. I've come to you to ask you questions for advice in building the high school, and so many times that I know other people have reached out to you on a personal level, and that you really care. And you're not just
I do try
your classes and whatever, but it's because you care about the people that you're also sharing with. So thank you for caring about chinuch, about Klal Yisrael, about the shluchim, and for really helping and changing all of our lives with what you teach.
Thank you. I'm
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Chaim, so she just said thank you for getting back to her. I'm always scared when anybody says to me, I texted you. I'm always afraid they're going to say, and you didn't get back to me. I'm always so relieved when they say, you responded to me. Because
you cringe a little bit because you're not sure what's coming because it's hard to keep.
I get hundreds of texts a day, and I don't really get back to 99% of them. And okay.
Since I could ask you anything,
yeah.
What do you do when is there a point at which it's like, oh man, I missed the window there. I could have just replied, but now it just feeds on itself. It's like, if I could have replied a week ago, now I'm 6 months, and it's just like an endless loop of all I had to do was just say, sorry.
Chaim, there's a story of my life. You could have responded with a one-liner the day of, and now it's a week later, and now you better come up with something really brilliant. And now
The
it's
only
a
way
month.
out of that is like an incidental thing that is like, oh, you happen to see that thing, and so he can just like then later mention, by the way, I meant to call you back. But money, we are going to hit 50%.
Oh,
We're going to be
Hashem.
halfway there very soon,
Momentarily,
before we end tonight.
with Hashem's help.
But we're right now getting, or just a few inches away from $200,000. And it's just really wonderful to see. Today was just
It was
booming.
a big day. I want to
So-
tell you something. Last night, like late last night after I finished Rambam, I should have done Rambam before, and I didn't finish till, at any rate, I think we were at 200 donors, or maybe 201 donors, and now we're at 383 donors. And I want to share something. I think I've said this before, but I want to say it again. To me, it's not just the sum total of the dollars. Hashem should help. We should hit that $500,000 mark and even beyond. But there's another number that means a lot to me, and that's the number of donors, because each one of those people who took the time to process their credit card, it means this is another person who belongs to this virtual community. And I do not undervalue, or at least I pray that I do not undervalue that what that means when somebody considers themselves somebody who I may not ever see or may rarely see in real life, but they consider themselves part of what's going on here, and it is extremely meaningful to me. So that number of donors means a lot. So even if you can do $2, do $2. It's okay. You can do 30 cents, and I'll lose the whole thing to credit card processing fees. It's okay. It's somebody you mentioned one of our donors earlier, the heavy hitters at the beginning of the evening. One of the people you mentioned was Mitch Kuflick. So he was one of the early supporters of SoulWords. He told me something that has really advice that has stood me in good stead, and that is, I don't think he made this up, but it doesn't matter. He's the one I heard it from. So for me, it's Mitch's Vort. He told me, you can fake caring, but you can't fake showing up.
Mm.
So in this virtual world, how do you show up? You process a credit card, and that's called showing up.
Yeah. We have a next piece of programming to get to, but I did want to get to the money thing. I'm going to read just a few donations that just came in. Anonymous, $360 in honor of Sternish Sarah Bas Usher Yaakov and Shayna Bas Shoshana Malka. Vivi Darren, $144. Thank you for making Tanya and the Rebbe's letter so accessible. And that's a lot of things that you've been sharing tonight. Access, being a resource. Okay. So like I said, we want to try to get to 200,000 very shortly. How about 200,000 by the end of the next segment that Rabbi Taub is going to do? And then 50%, which would be 250,000 before we get to 10 p.m. And by the way, if you've been tuning in tonight or the other nights, you will probably get a phone call at some point, assuming you subscribe or you have donated in the past. At some point, you will
I think
get
it's past donors. Our call center, there's, I think, 4 people at our call center. And so we're limited. So right now we're just calling people who have given past donations.
Yeah. So heads up, you may get a call. Yeah, obviously, it's the people who they have the contact list of and donate. And again, the amount is important, but not as important as being a part of this. And by the way, I have a hard time asking and certainly with this sort of stuff, but there's a nice subtle way of doing it. If you're someone like me who has a hard time asking others, you can just have it shared automatically on your Facebook page that you donated, right? It's just a click of a button. And then it's like, you're letting people know this is something that's important to you, and you're inviting them to do the same without, the heaviness of doing that in a direct way.
Right. No pressure.
Yeah. And no pressure. We have so many things to do within the next half hour. But how about this? We're going to go until we reach that 50% mark. We have to. But for now, we are getting closer and closer. By the way, could you tell me about these yamakas? I've been wearing this the last few nights.
Yeah.
We had these last year.
Could
you have some on
someone
your
toss
table.
me one of these? David, don't be scared. David's hands is going to be in the program. Okay. Before we finish tomorrow night, we're going to get David on camera. These are SoulWords yamakas. Now, a lot of people might think this is 7-Eleven. It is not. Because can you get in tight on that? Like really tight? So you could see if you get in really, really tight, extreme close up, really extreme. Still, you can read the Hebrew. It doesn't say 11. It says chavivin. It's 7, like kol shviin chavivin. Okay. And anyway, what's kol shviin chavivin? That's
coming fresh from Yud Shvat.
Coming fresh from Yud Shvat, the 7th generation. We are in the 7th generation from the Alter Rebbe. So, I made that. I have a hobby. David told me to get vulnerable.
Can I do it this
David,
way?
Yeah, David, you could tell me to get vulnerable, but if I even mention your name, you're sweating. Okay, so he told me to get vulnerable. So I'm going to tell you something. One of my hobbies is, Chaim, you're looking at your phone. I'm being vulnerable.
No, because I wanted to.
One of my hobbies is a little bit of graphic design, but not like professional, like just fun. It's like therapeutic for me. So you see these? I made these too. This does not, look at this, does not say Dunkin' Donuts. Can you get untight in this? Because now my monitor is blank. I can't see it. Yeah, it's good. Can you see it? It says SoulWords. You see it says SoulWords? Okay, so I did that too. I did the graphic design.
By the way, you were paranoid for the last 14 months about an intellectual property lawsuit.
Somebody told me that I could get sued,
by now?
but I'm about to make $500,000. I think I'm ready to go to court.
Legal fees, that will go.
Yeah. But I want to tell you, so I'll destroy these if I need to. If they write me a cease and desist, I'll get rid of it.
So help me God, I will.
But it's parody. It's parody. It's
just a prank.
It's just a prank, bro. Listen, what I want to tell you is there's this certain aesthetic, like sort of 90s rave culture, subversion of capitalism through reappropriating corporate logos, the semiotics of corporate logos. That, by the way, sounds like a master's thesis for like NYU, like the 90s rave culture and subversion of capitalism through appropriating corporate logos and the semiotics of corporate logos. At any rate, but so what I did is I took the Dunkin' Donuts, I made it SoulWords, I took the 7-Eleven, made it kol shviin chavivin, and that's what I enjoy doing on my spare time when I'm tired. Put up the Rebbe letter. Okay, fine. I've got it. So now you know a little bit about my life.
In the meantime, we're getting closer to 200,000. Anonymous just gave $2,000. Huh? We're getting ready? And, okay. I wanted to mention this also. I don't think we met.
Can we get more Diet Coke?
If you are not tech savvy enough to make a charity account, or you don't want to put your information there, and I totally get that. There's a bunch of other ways to donate. If you take a look at the description in the YouTube info description.
Yeah, the description of the YouTube, you can see.
And on the charity campaign page.
Yes.
You'll see a bunch of other ways to donate: PayPal, Cash App, all the things.
Zelle, Venmo, Swiss bank account.
Take it all. So feel free to do that as well. And if you want to be anonymous, it'll be anonymous. If not, it will also be added on the back end to the website. So
that it'll get matched. That's the point. Because you could donate all year, but only until tomorrow night is it getting matched. Is it okay if we put on the pressure a little bit so people just remember it is a matching campaign, so every dollar is worth $2 until tomorrow night. So
that means that
a little urgency. Yeah.
We should name who our matchers are, and so that means these people already put up the money.
They put up the money,
so it's there.
They will match whatever comes in.
Right. So that's coming in,
but they're not going to match what doesn't come in.
Right. So, yeah, do the thing.
The matchers?
No. The matchers have already committed. I'm saying the people.
You want me to say that it's our matchers? We have we have Ellie and Freda Nash. We have David and Edith Schottenstein. We have Getzi and Lisa Fellig, and we have, I have to say this right, Lakewood Friends of SoulWords.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on the website.
I
I'm
know
seeing
who it
last
is.
time.
I know who Lakewood Friends of SoulWords is. And,
I know who Anonymous is.
okay.
Okay, the Rebbe's letter.
Okay, fine. Great. My monitor does not work, by the way. It's okay? All right. Excellent. So can we go to the top there? All right. So actually, before
You could read that?
No, I can't read it, but I have the same thing on my laptop. Okay. Can I do a little intro before we go to the actual letter about this segment? Okay, great. So just to back up, the first hour, our program was called Ask Me Anything. And I did that because I am aware, I'm not oblivious to the fact that people do think of me as a guy who answers questions. And I know why that is. I did write a column, an advice column for 8 years after all. So I do understand why people would associate that with being the answer man, even though I resent being seen that way. I just want to advise you, if you ever see me and you come over to me and you tell me, I read you every week in the Ami, you're going to upset me because I haven't written there every week for over 2 years. So it means you didn't really read me every week. But at any rate, I wrote a column for 8 years, an advice column. I want to tell you something. Rabbi Yitzchak Frankfurter, who's the publisher of Ami, he told me to do it. He barely knew me. For some reason, he felt I would be good at it. He said, write an advice column. And I said, I don't even know what an advice column is. Like, I've heard of the format. I've heard of Ann Landers, Dear Abby, but I didn't really know. I never really read those columns. I didn't know what it was. He's like, you should do it. I don't know why he was confident. Whatever. He said, you should do it. And so I was like, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll just imitate Igros Kodesh. Igros Kodesh are a set of the compiled correspondences of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So I said, I'll just copy the Rebbe's style in Igros. And that's what I overtly did. Overt plagiarism. Chat GPT. Basically, that was what I was doing, a language model. I was taking the Rebbe's style in Igros and doing a very poor imitation of
By
it.
the way, before you said that, what did I just put in the chat?
What did you just put? Hand it over here. Let's see what you put into Chat GPT right now. I'm pulling it up. Okay.
2 seconds ago.
Where does Rabbi Shais Taub get his material?
Where do you get your material, by the way?
Rabbi Shais Taub is a well-known speaker, writer, and teacher of Jewish spirituality, and his material comes from a variety of sources. As a student of Hasidic philosophy and Jewish mysticism, Rabbi Taub draws on the teachings of Jewish sages and spiritual leaders throughout history, including the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, and Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, a prominent Hasidic master. That is actually not true, ChatGPT, because I want to tell you something. For the first time ever in a public talk, I quoted a teaching of Rabbi Nachman this year. It was in the Dreidel talk that we spoke about. There was a great piece on Galgal Achazer from Rabbi Nachman, and that was the first time I ever quoted him in a shir. So ChatGPT doesn't know what he's talking about. At
Again,
any
but
rate,
super confidently.
so I did a column for 8 years. Listen to me. I did a column for 8 years. ChatGPT is great with confidence. He's like the half-drunk guy at the cocktail party who's going to just chat with everybody, even
Never
though he's
shy to
out
tell
of his
you
element.
exactly-
His depth is like this, but it's like this wide, and now I'm projecting. But at any rate, yes, he's a dilettante, a dabbler, and he knows how to talk smooth, and he doesn't know what he's talking. He's a fraud. ChatGPT, yeah, or like you said last night, there's something about you that I hate about myself. At any rate, so I copied the idea, the style of Igros, and I did an advice column for 8 years. Okay, these advice columns, the best of them, were compiled into two books. Zalman Goldstein did this from Two Lights. This is volume 1 and volume 2. Or should I do, I don't know, volume 1 and volume 2, the brown one, the blue one. Okay. And by the way, I have a bunch of volume 2s at home. So I'm willing to give away, I have like 10 volume 2s. So do we want to?
I think all the Haggadahs are spoken for at this point.
Haggadahs are spoken for?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, 300? Let's keep it the same because I don't want to remember.
Keep it the same.
Well, so the Haggadahs you gave to people with 300 and above?
whatever I said, I think I said 200, but whatever I
You said 300. Effective 300, meaning 150 being matched. You said
okay, I don't, whatever I said.
You said 300. He said 300. Okay. So
same-
we'll do the same thing. If you give 300
How
effective.
many, do you have 10?
I have 10 of them. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
do 10.
Yeah. So the next 10 people do 300 and above will get Ami Letters Volume 2. By the way, I think Volume 2 is better than Volume 1, just in my humble opinion. Okay.
Okay, the first one to get it is Naomi Halpert.
There you go. Okay. I just want to read something from the introduction. I'm not going to read the whole introduction over here. I'm just going to read part of it. As for my lack of experience writing in the genre, I decided to emulate as best as I could the style of the thousands of published letters of my Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Chusay Yogan Aleinu, printed in the collection known as Igros Kodesh. These letters have been a personal treasure to me in my own life, so I was excited when I realized I might have an opportunity to share with others some of what these letters have taught me. Indeed, all of the elements that have made this column so popular, Baruch Hashem, are borrowed directly from Igros. These come to mind as some of the more obvious ones. Always validate the person to whom you are speaking, even and especially when you don't agree with what they are saying. People don't care about what you know until they know that you care. Be positive. Don't let a person's problem define them. People are good and want to do the right thing. Always encourage. Momentum is powerful. Find what people are doing right, label it, praise it, and ask them to do even more. There are no set rules when it comes to people. Every human being is different. The same question from two people can require two very different answers. Don't answer the question, answer the questioner. And most importantly, look for the answer in the question. People have answers already. Listen, and they will share with you the clarity that they seek. Okay, so at any rate, that's what Igros means to me. And we're going to do a letter. We're going to study a letter from the Rebbe right now, which is actually not from the Igros Kodesh, because Igros Kodesh are all Hebrew Yiddish letters. This is an English letter. I have a special love for the Rebbe's English. Last night, or maybe 2 nights ago, I quoted from the Rebbe's English introduction to the bilingual Tanya. And I said that my animal soul speaks English. So when the Rebbe writes in English, it speaks to my animal soul and it touches me in a deep way. So we're going to do a little letter here. Okay, now we can pull it up if you wish. And this is, by the grace of God, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz 5730, Brooklyn, New York. Dear Asaf. Now, it's interesting. It sounds like an Israeli name, but the Rebbe is writing in English. I'm going to guess, and I have no real strong basis for this, but to me, you got to put on your Sherlock Holmes hat, which, by the way, do you know the technical term for a Sherlock Holmes hat?
No.
Deer stalker. Google it. Just check. Make sure that I'm right. I'm not saying, yeah. At any rate, I'm guessing that this is like a little Hebrew school kid, like a Talmud Torah kid, some American kid, and he probably used his Hebrew name that he uses in Hebrew school to write to the Rebbe. I don't know if it's true, but I don't know. It just occurred to me. You're going to tell from context that's a child. You won't know that the Rebbe is writing to a child until the second paragraph, because the Rebbe sees neshamas. And a neshama of a child or of the oldest sage is equally eternal. So you wouldn't even know that Rebbe is speaking to a child. The Rebbe speaks to a child like the Rebbe speaks to an adult with such respect. The fact that the leader of world Jewry is taking time from his day to write a full-page letter to a child. At any rate, like I said, you wouldn't even know it's a child. You wouldn't even know it's a child until the second paragraph where the Rebbe mentions it. And if the Rebbe wouldn't mention it, you wouldn't even know. Okay. I was pleased to receive your letter. I'm sorry. The fact that, thank you. I didn't even get to the letter, but the fact that the Rebbe is taking time to write to a child in such an earnest, serious way, taking the child's life so seriously, taking the child's question so seriously, just shows you the infinity of a true Jewish leader. I was pleased to receive your letter, but I was very much surprised at the questions you asked. Why would the Rebbe say that? I was surprised. So being surprised is when expectations are thwarted. I don't know if this child ever wrote to the Rebbe before. I don't know if the Rebbe ever met this child in the way that we consider meeting somebody. Although a neshama klalis doesn't actually have to meet any Jew because he's already connected with every Jew. At any rate, for the Rebbe to say, I was surprised, it implies that there were certain expectations. Like I said, assume the best of it. It's such an interesting paradox. Only the Rebbe can get away with, on one hand, the harshness of like, I'm surprised at you, but at the same time, the utter compliment that is like, you would say, like, I would think better of you. Like, come on, a guy like you, someone as great as you. And to me, that's already just what's implied with that. I was surprised is already like this. It's tough, but it grants the letter writer such dignity. I would have thought better of a guy like you. Okay. I was very much surprised by the question you asked. You wrote, I want to know if Hashem really exists. I will answer it this way. In other words, there are many answers, but this is the way that Rebbe is going to answer. Suppose you walked in the streets and saw a skyscraper. Would you ask, is there someone who made it? And if this is so, with a building of a number of floors, what will you say about the whole world with the sun, moon, and stars, oceans and mountains and woods, and all of the creatures on land and in the seas, and so on? Okay, now that's a common argument, a common philosophical argument that is made to logically demonstrate the imperative of a creator. That the fact there is a creation means there must be a creator. Okay, fine. That's a standard answer. You see that Rebbe chose that answer. There are other answers. The Rebbe chose that answer. Okay. Your other question was, if you daven the rest of the year, will you get a trumpet? So, Asaf wanted a trumpet, and he wanted to know if he davens, is he going to get his trumpet? Since you are a thoughtful boy, again, I don't know if this boy ever met the Rebbe. I don't know if he ever wrote to the Rebbe other than this one letter. But he's writing to the Rebbe. He's asking questions about theology. That itself demonstrates he's a thoughtful boy. So the Rebbe calls it out, and he labels it, and he calls him a thoughtful boy. Since you are a thoughtful boy, I will again answer it with an illustration. I love that. Because you're thoughtful, I'll answer with an illustration. In other words, I'll give you the picture, and you're smart enough, you'll decode it. Suppose you were invited to the White House, and the President of the United States, which, by the way, if this does say 5730, which I can't really read it perfectly, that would probably be Richard Nixon, who was the president when I was born as well. If you were invited to the White House and the President of the United States received you with pleasure and asked you what kind of a present would you like, would you ask him for a candy? Perhaps you know the story of King Solomon, who was only 12 years old. See, he was a kid too, when he became king of all the Jewish people after his father, King David. God appeared to him in a dream and asked him, "What shall I give you?" And all he asked for was a wise and understanding heart. Right? Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And God gave him that, as well as everything any person could wish for. Watch this. And in one moment, the Rebbe is telling Asaf, "What are you asking for candies? What are you asking for trumpets? What are you asking for toys? You're a big boy. Ask for wisdom." And the Rebbe is so good. The Rebbe says at the same time, "By the way, Asaf, ask for the wisdom. You're going to get your trumpet too." The Rebbe wants us to have everything. Ask for clarity. And you're going to have health. You're going to have nachas from your children. You're going to have parnasa. You're going to have everything you need. You don't have to give up one to have the other. It's not a choice between spiritual and material. But just prioritize. Ask for the spiritual. And when you're spiritually on track, of course, then all the material stuff will come with it too. Because when you're doing your shlichus, then you need the resources to do your shlichus. Okay. I trust you are learning Hashem's Torah with devotion and diligence, and conduct yourself the way Hashem wants you to, as is fitting for a Jewish boy, a son of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yankov, the fathers of our people, with blessing, the Rebbe's holy signature. Anyways, that's just one little letter to a little boy. And I'm sorry, I didn't think I would be so emotional about it, but if each of us, last night we spoke about parenting. If each of us could attempt to take people in our lives as seriously as the Rebbe took this little boy and his question about a trumpet, think of what the world would look like. I mean, Mashiach would be here. Anyway, okay. Sorry, I don't know why it was so
Strong
emotional.
men also cry.
Okay. By the way, all your ridiculous, inappropriate humor, probably now would be a good time just to get me out of this funk over here. Okay. Yeah.
I have a few more testimonials to read, but I don't think I've done this in the past. But if I could share my own, I didn't write it, but the idea of hosting something on behalf of a rabbi or hosting something on behalf of an organization that teaches Torah wouldn't come to me as the first thing that I would take up. If I and whatever, I'm not going to. Lots of things I could say. I could talk about my misgivings and my no love lost with a lot of things that are systemic to the general from community and culture. But I'm not going to do that. I could. But
you're tempted to. You have the mic. Thousands of people watching.
I paid for this soapbox. But what I will say, when you were reading that intro to the Ami letters, and you was quite a list there of things that you glean from the Rebbe's letters. I wouldn't even say cynic in me. The logical part of my brain, based on my personal experience growing up within the general from and yeshiva system, would say that sounds like a lot of wishful thinking at best, and maybe a lot of something else at worst. And I don't think that would be a disingenuous assumption. But I would like to believe, and I truthfully do believe, that those are accurate, as is evident from the letter you read, and evident from a lot of other letters that I've read and people I know personally. two of the things that struck me from that letter. I have my uncle who's got some beautiful stories about yichudus that he had with the Rebbe, and in one of them, I think he was 8 years old, where the Rebbe said, "I'm gonna speak to your father after, and I'll make sure he gets you that drum set."
Oh yeah.
If you do like a certain
Really?
amount of stuff from the class, yeah.
Oh wow.
Amongst many other things, and I'll share one other thing that I think it was the same yichudus. He told me that he was very angry because like, I don't have many friends. I'm not comfortable with people, but I had this one friend in Yeshiva, Bedford and Dean, that I was close with, and he died right here. And he pointed out the window because the kid was, I think it was in the 5th grade, or I'm not sure. He was hit by a car and died on the corner of Eastern Parkway in Kingston. It's like, it happened right here. and the Rebbe got like very serious and asked for the name and said, I'm gonna go to the aisle tomorrow. And so like I have a lot of those beautiful things to borrow from, but it doesn't, to be honest, measure up with my personal experience. And specifically, to the contrary, a lot of what I grew up with was messaging to the opposite effect. Forget not validating, and specifically doing that under the banner of, this is sort of what the Rebbe would say. And the subtle difference between, I see you here, so I'm surprised to hear this from you because this is where I truly see you, versus, how dare you, or what is wrong with you?
It's such a fine line.
It
is such a fine line. And
to use that under the banner of this is so I'm not supporting or putting myself out on behalf of just another rabbi or another
you're saying you don't do this
cog in
often.
The wheel of the
you don't have a lot of other organized religion causes.
Not so much.
Yeah. Can I just make a comment? I mean, obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but Chaim and I know each other in real life, and but in a certain way, it was interesting. Like Mrs. Fliction was talking about her journey of finding my content online, and I was like, interesting. It was interesting to me. That was like sort of like a microcosm, I think, of a lot of people's relationship with me. What you're describing, without labeling you and like minimizing it by giving it a category, but like, let's say the disillusioned, the person who has a bone to pick with Yiddishkeit, that to me is the greatest validation. When I get a comment from somebody, a lot of times it'll be on social media. I'll get a direct message from somebody and they'll say, I don't like any rabbis, but you're okay. To me, that is the most coveted compliment. I don't need to be, thank God, Baruch Hashem, Klal Yisrael is blessed with so many great teachers and rabbis, and they have great messages. Go to them. Go to them. I don't need to be the rabbi for the masses. I want the disenfranchised guy who says, I can't learn from anyone else, but you're okay. For some reason, I can listen to you. That's who I want. That's who I care about. That's at any rate. I mean, yeah. I won't turn away other people as well, but yeah.
So we are still just a few short dollars away from hitting 200,000. I would love to get to 15% tonight. Please step up if you are watching, and we're going to go a bit longer tonight. How about we're not cutting this until we get to 200,000 at the very least, all right? And we have another
people hostage.
Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1. You're not leaving anytime soon until we get there. Hopefully it is very soon. So get on the phone, call your friends. Yeah.
Maybe people want us to continue and then they're going to stop giving.
No, I think you have a better... First of all, We're coming back tomorrow night.
We are coming back tomorrow night. And tomorrow night, I want to tell everybody, tomorrow night, we have Ellie Marcus. Can we announce it?
You gave it away. We're going to say a special guest.
Oh, we have a special musical guest. I'm not going to say who he is, but he's one of the greatest talents in Jewish music today. And I want to mention a real friend, just like you were talking about, like you're here because you have an actual personal connection to me. I want to tell you something. I don't need fancy dancy singers. I want like real guys. This particular, I'm not going to mention who he is a real guy. He's a real friend. He's been there for me in ways that are public, in ways that are private, that people won't know, don't necessarily need to know. And he also has a beautiful voice, and he's going to be here tomorrow night. We're not going to say who it is. Okay.
But right now we have another special guest, third night in a row.
Chazaka.
Back by popular demand.
The machlokes, by the way, in the Mishnah, if a chazaka is twice or thrice.
But first, okay, and by the way, no one answered my trivia question. If you're a Crown Heights native, first of all, I got a two-part question. One, what's the name of the movie short?
Where the video was playing. You could at least say,
you know what? I had it pulled up.
It is a now defunct deli that was on Albany.
Yes, if you wanted like a oversized Mazzino's hot dog bun 3 times the size of the hot dog. And at that point, you could probably get 2 with the fries and Coke for like $6 or something.
Yeah.
And they had the dumb waiter pull it up from downstairs.
And they had a big fat TV. This is before flat screens.
It wasn't that, I mean, like a 12-inch.
This was like 2000, maybe 2001. I think it was 2000.
I know it was 2000 for a fact. I'm not going to share why.
But associated with some traumatic memory, which
may have something to do with what I just shared earlier about some of what happened.
Okay, we'll talk about that after we end the live stream. Yeah.
So I want to hear. I had it pulled up. You know what? It has a lot to do. Your cameo in that movie.
Well, I call it a cameo. Everyone had 30 seconds.
True,
I was on for 30 seconds, but everyone was for 30 seconds.
Everyone was right. It was all.
Pull it up. It would be very interesting for people to see me.
We could get it so that people could see it clear.
I was young and there was less of me.
But no, you aged very well.
Thank you.
No, seriously. Most men do.
Yes.
If you're going to transition, you want to do it in the...
Right.
Because men, you're better off. You hit 60, you go, oh, I have it right here.
Are you able to
You want to know? This is a teaser for tomorrow. Because tomorrow...
Yeah.
What are the 2 segments?
Ooh. Tomorrow night. Oh, can you intro our guest? Oh,
yes.
You did already. Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay,
so back
intro
by
the
popular
guest.
Demand, we
intro
have
the guest.
Intro the guest, and then we'll do the teaser later?
And he's going to say the 2 topics for tomorrow night.
Okay, good.
Say who he is. Oh, I say who he is. Okay. Avraham Abba Taub. Hatomim. It's not a surprise, and you're not wearing a red hat. Speak closer to the mic. Closer to the mic. Just hold it up. Yeah, very good. All right. No, you got to really
bite it.
Sit up straight.
Really? Okay.
Okay. Now you're seeing some of like the authoritarian, patriarchal stuff come out. Yeah. Sit up straight. Look in camera 3. Hold the mic 2 inches from your face.
2 inches.
And say some of that cute stuff that the whole world was talking about last night. Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not a surprise anymore.
You're a child star.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's not a surprise anymore because I heard you mention that I'll be here, so it's definitely not a surprise.
Yeah.
You got that. Yeah. I have my resources on the inside.
So
told me that you said that I'm going to be here. Shout out.
Why don't you tell us the 2 topics for tomorrow night?
Okay. Topics for tomorrow night.
Final night. Oh, and by the way, the final night, the 4th night, is also the final night of the matching campaign. So we're only able to match your donation until tomorrow night. That means we have 24 hours. We have less than 24 hours. Let's pull out all the stops. Less than 24 hours to still match your dollar. Okay, 2 topics tomorrow night.
Okay, day 4. We have the future of the Jewish internet, which is an honest look at where technology has taken us and where we need to go. Okay. And we have Chassidus will bring Mashiach. Big changes are coming to your life and the whole world and how to be ready for them. Those are two big things.
Two big things, internet and Mashiach. And it's very interesting because I know what Chaim is thinking. The video that he's referencing, that Tzvi Hamanek was in, and I was also in, it's all about how technology will bring Mashiach.
Hey, we'll just play it.
Should we just
So
play
we get
part?
a tight, it's not going to be the best, but you could get a tight shot of this screen. No.
You close your other tabs, Chaim?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got nothing to hide. Little Lenny Bruce and... Okay.
Every grain of sand.
In fact, the mystical teachings tell us that everything in creation contains not just godly power, but godly purpose. From grains of sand, we derive silicon, and from silicon, we fashion microprocessors that empower the information age.
Powerful technology with a purpose. The purpose? To communicate and process knowledge. Not just any knowledge, the knowledge of God.
Communications, for instance, today, whether it's television, radio, or the internet, you can reach people in a split second over thousands of miles. And you can literally inspire someone sitting quietly in their own privacy of their basement. You can reach to a heart. As the Zohar clearly predicted, this is all a preparation and the beginning of a world that will be completely consumed with the ultimate knowledge, which is divine knowledge, godly knowledge.
Communications technology now offers an apt metaphor for God's all-seeing, all-knowing presence in the world.
It says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, in the Ethics of Our Fathers, that there's an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and everything is transcribed in a book. And now we see that instantaneously things are seen, heard, and recorded
Fax
anywhere in the
machines and
world
such.
by anybody. The knowledge can disseminate. There's no physical barrier. There's no place where the knowledge can't reach now. We know when we send a radio wave, it doesn't just go where people have radios. It's going where people don't have radios. In fact, a radio wave goes out into space forever and ever and ever. And if you want to go catch it and you have a nice big enough radio, you'll pick that up too. You can get the St. Louis Cardinals game from 50 years ago if you want to go far enough in space and you have a big enough radio.
You take this knowledge
that's me.
use it to express age-old truths about God and godliness in the world so that people could turn on a television, the internet.
You got the
People
90s
use all
sax
these
music in the
existing
background.
technologies and use them as means to deepen their connection to God.
Do you think there's a God?
Gavaldic. Chaim, that was a blast from the past. And can you just reveal that it was at Esther's Deli?
Yeah, I didn't say it was
No,
Esther's
you didn't
Deli.
say it was Esther's Deli. Okay, I just want to comment. It's interesting. Avram Abba is here. Avram Abba, put the mic closer to your mouth, dear.
got
Okay. Do you know
Mashiach Deli. What is it?
Mashiach Deli? That when I was in that video, you are closer to the age that I was in that video.
Whoa.
Yeah, than I am to that. Than I currently am to the age that I was in that video.
You know what hit me when that played?
What?
You sound exactly like Yisrael.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
That's interesting.
That's what hit me, yeah.
Yeah. Yisrael's your older brother.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's even closer to your age in that video.
Yeah, wow. So we didn't rehearse anything cute to say together, but
And the other nights we did?
and we didn't.
No, we didn't. No,
Okay.
just clarifying.
But close us out here with Chaim. How's the money doing? Is it coming in? Are people
Are almost there. We're at 196.
okay? Great. Did you have anything you wanted to share with us tonight? What you were thinking on the walk over here?
No, I was doing Tanya on the walk over here.
Really?
Yeah.
You were saying Tanya Balpeh? Which Perek?
Memhe.
Why Memhe?
'Cause
it's short?
Maybe. That was the suggestion that I got, so that's what I went with.
What is Memhe about?
Memhe is about the
Before you
Achim.
answer, I want to say something. A little nachas. There's a mimer called Isa B'Medrash Tilim, the Bar Mitzvah mimer, and everyone memorizes it. And a lot of people memorize it in Yiddish. Some memorize it in Hebrew. And Avram Abba memorize. You memorize it in Yiddish, right?
Hebrew,
For Gresser and
Yiddish.
Gloss?
Yeah,
Okay. Remember the Vergrasser and Gloss?
sure. Magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. Spaklaria Hami'ira. And then the Shabbos of your bar mitzvah, we went to the aisle. We spent Shabbos at the aisle. And you already did your mimer, meaning the official, you chazed the mimer, meaning you repeated it in the official words, word for word, at your official bar mitzvah party. But then at the aisle, do you remember this? You were little. I mean, this was like 5 years ago.
I remember being there.
And I asked you now, say the entire thing in simple, plain English and go through it line by line in simple, plain English. You remember that?
No, but did I do it?
You did it. You 100 Baruch Hashem. You 100% did it. Could you do the same thing with Perek Mem Hey?
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to know it Baal Peh. You know, Yankee Raskin was here last night. Hey, Chaim, you were getting cynical. Here's my version of cynical. It's don't get too excited. I'm not going to be that controversial. But there was, I saw an announcement or a story. It said about a yeshiva did a mivtza where the students learned such and such number collectively of chapters of Tanya, and I sent it to Yankee Raskin. And I said to him, I just sent him the title, and I said, what did I know before clicking on this and reading the article? And he wrote me back within 30 seconds that learning meant memorizing Baal Peh. And I said, yes, that is correct. Kedushas Ha'osius is incredibly important, and it's Matar the Avir, and we should memorize words of Torah. It has many, many benefits. But that's only the beginning. And learning a Perek Tanya doesn't just mean being able to say it Baal Peh, by heart. It means being able to say it in your own words. At any rate, Perek Mem Hey.
Okay, Perek Mem Hey speaks about that through understanding where your neshama comes from and the fact that it came down into this world and is in your body, that everything that you're going through, it's going through, and the better you can treat it, the nicer that is. Just simple, just being nice to the fact that there's a part of Hashem in you giving you life, so to treat that right.
To be nice to the godliness that's inside of you.
Just treat it right. Just Rachmim, that calls it.
It's called Rachmim. Yeah. That's very, very good. Excellent. And he says that is a path. It's interesting. I don't know if a lot of people understand what he says there at the end of the Perek, but this is the Indian of Yankiv Shapodes Avram. Yankiv, the three Avis, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yankiv, are Chesed, Din, V'Rachmim. And what is the idea of Yankiv Shapodes Avram, that Jacob redeems Abraham? There's no biblical story where Jacob redeemed Abraham. It's that Jacob is the embodiment of compassion. Redeems means accesses when it's inaccessible. Abraham, which is love. Meaning if you can't access your love of God, so you can take a roundabout side door, you can access the love of God through compassion. So actually, Mem Hey is another path. There's a lot of different types of ava, of love, that Tanya talks about in those prakim, Mem Aleph through Nun. Mem Hey actually is another path how to achieve love, but it's achieving love through compassion.
As it starts off, and
there comes the usefulness of the Baal Peh, the fact that you know that it says, what does it say? V'oid derech yasher. Oid, not ve'oid. Very good.
Chai corrected me.
Excellent. Oid derech yasher, meaning there's another straight path to love, meaning to say we've been given other paths to love, and this is another one. This is excellent. This is great.
Yeah.
You enjoy Tanya?
I do enjoy Tanya.
Is chapter 45 your favorite chapter?
Right now, it's my favorite chapter.
That's great.
Yeah. Avram Abba, I had some trivia stuff that I wanted to ask your father, but maybe it will be more helpful if I ask you instead of him.
Okay.
Okay. Do you happen to know his craziest Uber experience? Not Uber experience. His craziest experience in an Uber taxi cab.
In an Uber. In a taxi cab, I
Just
do.
Popped into my head that would be. Oh yeah, he was probably one of those people slamming the white top taxi door. You remember White Top?
Yeah, sure, anyway. Of course.
Okay.
Craziest
story in an Uber or car service or
in a car
taxi.
Service, in a taxi. Okay.
Or how about craziest story with Union Car Service?
Okay, I don't know who the taxi was.
They didn't pay for a product placement time.
So taxi, it was after. I'm assuming it was after a long speaking engagement.
Oh my goodness! Do you know this story?
I do know the story. And
Chaim, hold on a second. Do you know the story?
No.
No.
I know which story you're going to tell.
I have
Yes,
no idea.
it was after a long speaking issue. It was like 3-4 cities.
sure it was.
And I hadn't slept because every morning I had 6 a.m. flights. And if I have to fly at 6 a.m., that means I don't sleep the night before. Okay, go ahead. Tell the story.
Okay, so you got into the taxi.
Yes.
And
It was a taxi. It was before
it was a
Uber
taxi
existed.
before Ubers, and you.
Oh, my goodness.
And you fell asleep. As
Yes,
is
I
the way
was
of-
exhausted.
Yeah. So, I somehow throughout that ride the windows were open, and at the end,
You know
of the
why?
ride-
Because the taxi drivers, they don't like using the AC because they're cheap.
Oh.
So they just crack the
You
window.
assume everyone loves the smell of their cherry bomb and BO.
Okay, so the windows were open, and
I can't believe you know this story.
of course I know the story. Okay, so when you woke up,
Yes.
you noticed that
He
your
pulls up
yarmulke
to the
was
house,
missing.
and I wake up.
Yeah, and you woke up and you noticed your yarmulke's missing.
Right.
And you asked the taxi driver after looking around for it, do you know where my yarmulke is? Where the thing,
That
I'm
thing
wearing,
on my head.
On my head. And he says, sure. It fly out the window.
That's right. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that you know that story. That is too cool. Okay, we could do this all night. I think we need to wrap it up for tonight. You can keep giving. The donation button works all night long. And we'll see you here tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
Tape 8 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll see you here tomorrow at 8 p.m. until 10 p.m., where we'll finish it off with Hashem's help and reach our goal and maybe even go to bonus rounds.
Thanks a lot. Good night.